Just when you think it couldn't get better, it gets better. My friends, I hope you understand what is happening here. This is the greatest evidence that there is a God who loves Donald Trump. It gets better and better and better. And these people keep digging themselves deeper and deeper and deeper into this maelstrom of, I don't know what you want to call it. Now, heads up, tonight at 8 p.m., we're going to be seeing the recorded Joe Biden interview with Democratic lackey, Democrat, the fixer, George Stephanopoulos. Do you hear what I'm saying? Good. He's the fixer. He's the lackey. It's a work. This is their last chance. Why? I have no idea. This is what they say. They think this is going to do something. They think that somehow by going on George Stephanopoulos' show, Joe will be able to explain what happened. Explain the G7. Explain how he doesn't know where he is. Explain not a poor performance. Not that somebody in the national forensics debate didn't do well. We're not talking about stylistic points of order. We're talking about somebody who was, in essence, brain damaged. Do you hear what I am saying to you? Do you hear this? So immediately after the show tonight, we'll finish up our regularly, this thing that we're doing here, our 7 p.m. By the way, if you're here, we meet at 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you're always welcome. Please, newcomers, have a seat. Try the crumb cake. Have a seat. This is the conspiratorium. This is the chance for you to meet like-minded, incredibly brilliant people like yourself. Like our friend DeBrad, who says Grover Cleveland house for sale, Princeton, New Jersey, $6 million. Wow. As long as they don't touch his birthplace on Bloomfield Avenue. Now, immediately after the interview tonight, and thank you, Brad, we're going to reconvene. So we're all going to leave. We're going to watch what is happening. We're going to watch with great note and particularity that which is happening. The chance, the most important event ever. And then we will review it. And I'm going to tell you what to look for right now and what is happening. First, nobody is thinking about Donald Trump. Nobody's even thinking about him. He is just sitting back, smiling. He is brilliantly not saying a word. He is not saying a word. Brilliantly. Brilliantly. Do you hear what I'm saying? He's just sitting back. He's sitting back and he's just... Next, Joe Biden and his minions are telling you that Joe had a bad performance. Frank Luntz, the wig, the worst, the trafficant wig, the genius. Look at this guy. This is the genius. He actually said, haven't you had a bad time? Haven't you ever had a bad performance when you felt bad? You had maybe it was your wedding day. Maybe it was you had to go to the funeral of a loved one or something. He says, listen to my voice. Listen now. I've got a cold. Actually said this. I want to ask you a question. And I want you to listen to me carefully and answer this. And I want you to answer this and ask your friends this. If I am at a hospital and I know there is a doctor who repeatedly shows up drunk or is not qualified to maybe perform this particular surgery, or maybe is an imposter, or maybe is not certified. But if I know something and I'm at the hospital and I don't say anything, or if I try my best to continue this fraud, to hide the fraud from you, I understand that Dr. Gillespie here is an alcoholic who, on prior occasions at prior hospitals, dropped babies while delivering them when he was drunk. And I know this, and I've hired it, and I'm covering it up. Do you think maybe I might have some form of, dare I say, some form of liability? Do you think so? Do you think that the Democratic Party, do you think that Kamala Harris, do you think that all of these folks, Katzenbergs and others, Meager Brzezinski, have complicity, that they share liability in deliberately concealing from the world and from the Democratic Party the senescence of this man? Now you have these other people like Barry Diller, Abigail, whatever, Disney, the feller from Netflix, and others who were saying, we're absolutely done. And Katzenberg, you age washed. You hid this from us. This is the biggest line of garbage I have ever heard in my life. It is the worst. Brad said, absolutely. Thank you, sir. I believe that what they're doing is they're having this incompetence. They're hiding this from us. And the American people are being told that this is the only issue. Next point. Listen carefully. When you watch him tonight at 8 p.m., what are you going to be watching for? His substance? His answers? The subject matter? The clarity? No. The way he answers it. His tone of voice. The strength of his voice. How confused he sounds. Whether he squints when he speaks. Whether he squints like he's in pain. Whether he was when he says that, oh, anyway is his word for, I don't know where I'm going with this. That's what you're going to be watching. Let me say this again. You're not going to be listening to what he has to say. You're not going to be listening to what he has to say. You're not going to hear about his issues. He never talks about issues, never talks about the border one time. He does this ridiculous notion, this thing about Trump and January 6th, and it never stops. It never goes away. They honestly think this is it. Somebody is advising him. Now, next point. Do you believe there's something that Biden could say? Do you think there's something that Biden could say that he's not? Do you think there's a way that Biden could, I don't know if he's going to salvage anything because it's up to a lot of people involved, but do you think there is any approach he should take? Do you? Do you? Anyone? Listen carefully. Do you believe there is any way for him to handle it? What would you advise him? Let's assume you've been paid $10 million to advise him. What should he say? Yes, they said today he was 100% in the race. That's what he's saying now. What would you tell him if he turned to you and said, what is the best approach? This is the lawyer in me. I'll take any side and I'll say, this is what I think you should do. This is the way it should be done. This is the theory. This is the way it's done. But what he should do, he can't do, and it may be too late. But what do you think they're He needs very, very clearly to lean forward. To lean forward and say, George, I'm 81 years old. Are you 81, George? Roger Waters is 80 years old. Alan Dershowitz is 85. There's a lot of other people who are in their 80s. Do you know what being 81 is? Do you have any idea what it is? Any idea? Are you suggesting that people shouldn't be a president who are 80? Is that what you're saying? I mean, seriously, is that what you're saying? Maybe that's a different issue. Now, what I did was when I was in that debate with President Trump, I wasn't bad at my game or I sucked. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I looked like the Night of the Living Dead. And I can't believe that I did that. And it was horrible. And I don't blame anybody for saying, oh my God, after all, I'm the president of the United States. Now stop right there. You didn't expect that, did you? You shouldn't. You didn't. You wouldn't believe him say that. And by the way, do you think that he's crazy? He's not crazy. He's not crazy in the least. If he should say, I don't have dementia, I don't have memory problems at all. In fact, the problems I do have might be from something else because I'm remembering things that nobody wants to hear about. I don't have dementia. That short-term memory, I don't have that. That's not it. Now, let me ask you a question, and I'm not trying to put myself in this category, George, but I want to ask you a question. If I told you that I could have on my advisory committee for whatever it is, Stephen Hawking, assuming he was alive, and I'm not trying to compare myself to Stephen Hawking, please remember this is Joe Biden saying that. You think Stephen Hawking has something to say? He can't. He's very, very. He's very, as you could say, very affected by the Lou Gehrig's disease. Brilliant man. Let me stop for a second. You don't remember this, but I do. Jackie Gleason, after the Honeymooners, did a show on, I think it was CBS, and it was so bad. It was just horrible. It was so awful. After the Honeymooners, and this is before his Miami show. And so after he did the second show, I think it was the second show or whatever it was, all of a sudden Ed was saying, I know, but they were live. And all of a sudden the drape opens or the curtain opens, and Jackie Gleason comes on. He says, hold it. He says, I have to apologize. He says, that was the worst show. It was a dog. A dog. It was horrible. They loved it. Self-deprecating. Self-deprecating. So let me just say something. Nobody wants to hear anything about Joe Biden on January 6th. Nobody wants to hear anything about this. Nobody. Stop talking about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about this. Okay? Nobody wants to hear any of this idiocy. Okay? Nobody. No. They don't want to talk about his issues. They don't want to talk about January 6th. They don't want to do that. Would you agree with me? Yes. Because you're smart. Of course you're going to agree with me. The only way that Joe Biden is going to do this is to look people in the eye and tell them the truth. You demand this of your president, the truth. And let me also say something to you. Yeah, theoretically, I'm in charge of my delegates, but I'm not going to do anything against the wishes of my countrymen and my party. I'm not going to do that. I'm not an obstructionist. I spent my whole life trying to help this place, make this place better. I'm not going to do that. But I'm not done yet. And I've got things I want to do. And that's it. And if he addressed it, if he said it was horrible, I'm not going to give you an excuse. I was tired. Tired? Hell, it took me almost 2 weeks to recover. It was horrible. No excuses. I'm 81 years old. Do I fall asleep? Am I able to handle this job? Yes. George, I want you to look at me for a minute. Just imagine him saying this. George, I don't need this job. I don't need this job. I've been doing this for a while. We're not, we're not the richest people in the world, but we're pretty much set for life. I don't have to worry about this. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not involved in this for the money. You understand that, right? I have no interest in doing anything other than helping this country. Why would I want to do this? I'll tell you why I want to do this, because I love this. I love the job. I love the responsibility, and I love serving my country. I love being a public servant. So help me God. If he could do that, and he can't, but if he could do this, I promise you, there would be an acclamation, because you know why? It would be for the first time they will be hearing something that was honesty. Trump does it, but nobody wants to give him the credit for it. But that's exactly right. But he can't do it. Biden can't do this. He's not in the position. He's not. He won't say it. He won't do it. He won't involve himself in actually addressing this, because anything short of that, it doesn't matter. Let me say this again. The issue is not in him clarifying the position he had regarding any particular, I don't know what the word is. It's not in his clarifying his position on abortion or climate. That's not it. He's there tonight, and I would do everything 100% clear. I would say, and you're probably saying, George, why are you recording this? Why not do this live? I would address it. Because here's the thing. You and I know it. Biden is not going to make it. He cannot do 123 more days of this. This is ridiculous. Now, let me really make you laugh. You ready for this? This is what NBC said. And this is MSNBC, I guess. These are the biggest liars. They say this stuff, and they don't have the guts to say what I'm saying. They won't talk to you about the truth. Nobody wants to hear his opinion. Let me just give you this. This is what MSDNC said. This is an article written by, who wrote this? By Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist. And this is, with so much on the line, here are 9 things Biden must do during his interview tonight with Stephanopoulos. And the fact that they're making this the last resort. They're making this the Super Bowl. They're making this the only chance he had. Why? It's just an interview with George Stephanopoulos. Oh, no. This is going to clarify. Did you notice how Biden today, did you see the Wisconsin rally? He's using the adult steps on the plane. Did you see that one? Jill is not running down to help him. And he was covered in this kind of orange arancione, this orange, I don't know if he was making fun of Trump or whatever, but it's a spray tan or something. It's just too much. But listen to what MSDNC said. He must explain to the American public why he is sitting for this interview. He should admit he wanted to address the concerns about his performance at the debate. And he should not be overly scripted. Don't sound overly scripted. He is opening up a dialogue. And by the way, he should say, oh, this is not the perform. Again, this is not a performance. It was a G7 because it looked like I'm walking around. Tell people, admit it. Say, George, it looks like, what is this? Now, remember, the best part is, if for some reason Joe steps down, you get Kamala Harris, who sounds like a cross between Deepak Chopra and Hunter S. Thompson on acid. I don't know what she's talking about. Okay, number two, they say he must admit he was too. Listen to this. You're gonna love this one. This is from MSDNC, a Republican strategist. He must admit he was too focused on making his case to the voters with numbers and data on Thursday. What? And as a result, he failed to speak clearly and genuinely. He was too much into data and numbers. Number three, he must not appear defensive or make excuses. He must absolutely not mention jet lag or having a cold. Well, what, were you lying? He's got to be able to handle that. What happens when they say, were you lying about that? Yep, because I was embarrassed. George, I was embarrassed. You ever been embarrassed? Show honesty, humility. Oh my God, people are going to go crazy. He's got nothing to lose. He must speak directly to his health, addressing any ongoing medical treatments he might be receiving or recent diagnoses. This has been the issue for a long time. Next, he must never forget that cameras are on and he has to appear engaged, interested, and vigorous at all times, even if it means taking a few extra swigs of orange Gatorade and eating a few more chocolate chip cookies. I think that's code word for drugs. Have you noticed when he gets off the plane, he does this little step where he pretends like he's running up to he's not moving, he's just pumping his hands, which is even weirder. Number six, he must not overcompensate with machismo. There must be no mentions of the specifics of his exercise routines or bragging about his golf game, his ability to carry clubs, or how many push-ups he can do. Number seven, he must take a few minutes to give the answers he should give given during the debate. His answer on abortion would be a great start. Forget this abortion thing. Nobody's talking about abortion. Nobody is hanging up. Please, Joe, I knew you were out of your mind here, and could you just clarify your position on abortion? No. He must not over-prepare. This isn't going to be a problem. And finally, he must remember to smile and allow a little of the old charismatic Scranton Joe to shine. I'm going to throw up. See what's happening with this, my friends? This is the greatest stuff I've ever seen in my life. Now let's talk about Kamala. What's happened to Kamala? Well, Kamala's doing a few things. There are supposedly documents that are going around telling people to get ready for her. Now remember how that's going to be. Remember, it's going to be very simply either Joe saying, forget it. They're going to make Joe. Joe is not going to. Somebody actually suggested that Hunter Biden was actually sitting with Joe. That Hunter was sitting, going over this. Saying, I think what you should do. This convicted felon, as it were. Now, this is important. This is critical, okay? I want to ask you a question. I ran across this one today, and this is a great one. This is really, really good. Okay, you ready for this? Let me ask you a question. Who knows anything about the order of succession? Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the 25th Amendment, but the order of succession. This is the one you're going to love. Number one. Who's first in line? Let me ask the question, and let's see who can be quick on the draw. Who is first in line in the order of succession? Who is it? Quickly, hurry. First one in wins. Who? Who's the first one to type it out? Come on. Who's the first one? VP. Thank you, Hillbilly. That'll do. That'll do. Thank you very much. That is very good. Thank you very much. Dauphin. I love that one. Number one is, somebody wrote speaker. Oh, dear God. Number one in line is the Vice President, Kamala Harris. Okay, you got that? Good. Now, after that, let's say, God forbid, there's some calamity. There is no more Vice President. Who is then second in line after her? Who? Anybody? Who would that be? Marty's the Speaker of the House. Who is the Speaker of the House? Who was the Speaker of the House? Johnson. Very good, Susan. Ding, ding, ding. Very good. Okay, my friends. Now watch this. This is the one. This is the one for all the money. Ready for this? After Speaker of the House, who's next? And what's the person's name? This one, nobody knows. Who is it? Who is it? Third one. President Pro Tem. Very good, Charles Groen. And who is the President Pro Tem? Who is it? Who is the President Pro Tem? Patty Murphy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Next, Pharaoh. Patty. Did you know this? Did you know that Patty Murray is the Speaker of the Senate Pro Tem? By the way, number 4 is Blinken. Speaker of the Pro Tem. It was going to be Patrick Leahy. He stepped down. There's going to be Dianne Feinstein. She was out of it. And all of a sudden, Patty Murray is actually 4th in line after the Speaker of the House. Fantastic. Now, what is Kamala doing? Does anybody think? Now, remember what I'm saying, and I'm going to try my best, my dear friends, to ask you a favor. A big favor. Big favor. Please do not, and I know you're funny, the hilarity, the hijinks, the witticisms are without peer. You are absolutely burgeoning, exploding with wit. This jejune, not jejune, this comedic, the laughter, the cachinnations that you've inspired without peer. The humor, the absolute wit that is exposed is without peer. And I realize that. I realize this. Ladies and gentlemen, Lev Cherkashin. Thank you, Lev, for that beauteous super sticker. That's the spirit, Lev. How about a big hand for Lev? Thank you, Lev. Making it count. Showing the love. Thank you, Lev. Thank you for that. Now, let's assume, remember what we're talking about now. This is important. Biden cannot make it 123 days. Why Blinken? The State Department is old as executive office. Why Blinken? Well, why in that order, George? Don't look at me. Don't look at me. That's the order. That's the way it is. Now, Biden cannot make it. It's Kamala. Before we begin, question number 1, not what you want, not what you like, not what you wish, not what you're hoping for, but do you believe, dear friend, do you believe, as we speak, do you believe, based upon the numbers, swing states, that Biden could win, right? And you can say if the election were held today, something catastrophic would happen. Okay, forget all that. Do you believe that Biden could win against Trump today, now, based upon polling, based upon the states, based upon all of the averages, based upon the actual raw numbers? Not whether you like him, not whether he's crazy or smart, but do you have Biden in any way beating Trump? Nick says, not legitimately. You're absolutely correct. not if votes are counted, and not if we do not have a huge bevy, a passel of new voters from elsewhere who all of a sudden show up, and guess what? They're on the rolls. All of a sudden, you've got people from countries just pouring in, and they are on the roll. So we don't know that. Now, next question is simply this. Do you believe that there is any chance that, as it is, that Kamala against Trump could beat Trump? Now, again, not what you like, not what you think, not what you wish, not based upon the jokes. Bradley Oppin says, assume Trump wins. How does he drain the swamp? I love questions that are very complicated. We'll get to that in a moment. Draining the swamp is, I think, more almost, well, there's a couple of things we can do. But before we get to that, because this is the critical issue. This is it. This is it. Do the Republicans think that she can beat Trump? Not because she's better. Winning has nothing to do with who's good. It has nothing to do with that. Depends upon voter. I guess last voter, who won the last election, who voted. Is it a blue state, a red state? Is it this and that? All of these factors. Remember, this has nothing to do with what you like, what I like, what he likes, what anybody likes. It's nothing to do with that. Nothing. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing. It has to do with something even more simple. I cannot believe right now, well, let's look at the numbers, that if in the toss-up states, the battleground states, that she is going to do well. She, oh my God, she was polling at, I think, what was it, like 2%, less than 2%. She had to drop out of the Democrats. That changes it. She was the least liked vice president since Aaron Burr. This is true. She has absolutely no, I don't know about her constituency. She was there for let's say it again, she was there as a quota, as a DEI, black woman, Asian, whatever it was. Absolutely. You know, and I know it. Don't run away from it. Matt Lezak says, hypothetically, if Kamala to put in Joe's place, what would be the rush for her to name a VP? We've shown we can go 3+ years without opponents. No, she has to come up with some, and she will have one just as George Bush, as Gerald Ford picked Nelson Rockefeller. George Keane said, typo, when I said I meant you, Kamala for talk show host. Interesting. Let's go and let's please focus on this one. Thank you for that. It's a very interesting question or position. Does she want this? Let me just say something to you. I know that sounds absurd. I know you may laugh at this. I know you may. There are people who never really want it. To want the presidency involves a passion, and it involves a drive that you cannot believe. She never had that drive to be president. A real Sheikha Pia said, I see Newsom, Letitia James, I die. Newsom and Letitia James? I see this? You mean both of them running together? No. Or one of them as a VP? No. Remember what's happening here. What is a vice president? In this case, a younger woman, if they're very serious about this, it's a younger woman, so she doesn't necessarily need someone to be standing by in case, God forbid, something happens to her. Not as likely as the case of, let's say, with Biden or with Trump, to be quite honest with you. So she wants somebody then to balance off her. She wants to be somebody almost like a Mike Pence or like LBJ was to JFK, to the southern states, that kind of a balance. The first debate, why is this important? The first debate, you do know, my friends, that from now on, this is what Trump must be so happy about. When it comes to the Democratic Party, nobody cares at all about what they have to say. What they care about is how they look, how they act, how they speak from now on. George Keane says UK media said Kamala was a DEI hire. 2020 was peak DEI. Also, you missed a super chat of mine about Blinken. I think I got it one. Kamala Harris doesn't have her heart in it, but may be forced. Well, I'm not sure about that one. I don't know about being forced. George said a typo when I meant you, Kamala, for talk show host, and then you wrote, let me see, I'm trying to get yours. Let me see yours. I want to get all yours, Keen. UK media, hang on a minute, Corn. Just a second. Anybody who's kind enough to. I read my comment too fast. I was telling you why Blinken is number 4, State Department, oldest executive office. Also, is it just me, or is the height of irony to have a Secretary of State named Blinken first to blink? You are, my friend, a wit. And he also is the worst. The worst. B, Wakul said, to be a winner, you got to want the ball. Ooh. So let's go back. Let's regroup and let's think about this. Very, very important. Number 1, does she have this? No. Does she have this passion? No. No, 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 no. She does not have it. What are Democratic donors going to think? What are the Democratic wise men going to think? What about people who are looking to have a Democrat at the helm to promote? They're very serious people who believe in things like climate change and social programs and all that kind of stuff. What about those people? That's the issue. That's the issue. George Keane said, thanks for going back, Lionel. You're a gem. Indeed, sir. Oh, as are you. Anybody who takes time out, I want to acknowledge stuff. So I'm telling you, I don't know. They're looking at this, and if you meet at the highest levels of the DNC leadership, they're going to say, what do we do with this? Now, if she turns it down, then we're in the clear. Remember, anything they want to happen, they will get people to say as though it's their idea. If they want Kamala to step down, she will step down. If they want her to pass, she will pass. Trust me. If they want Joe to step down, he's stepping down. It's too early. They can't capitulate. They can't run because they had a, quote, bad debate. So they're going through this ridiculous game of this interview with George Stephanopoulos. They're going to say, well, say that? Okay, can we get back to square one? But let me go back to what I was saying. This is important. Listen to me carefully. Up until now, nobody cared about debates. Nobody cared about debates. Nobody cared about them because, frankly, you just wanted for somebody to have just a gaffe, a minor little oops, a minor, oh, well, a Jack Kennedy, I know that was VP, but still something along those lines. Think Kamala Harris will get a pill to control the cackle? You are a wild man, sir. She is absolutely going to be attempted to be trained, but she can't, George, change too much. You don't want her to appear medicated by virtue of rote. You don't want her to become all of a sudden this Jean Kirkpatrick, which she doesn't know what to do. They are stuck with the fact that she's not dumb as rocks. She just doesn't understand anything. She has no... Do you remember the fellow on BBC who showed up? He was a driver. He showed up and he was standing near the, I guess, the cameras. They thought he was the next guest. He was a limo driver from Africa or something. They said, "You, sir," and he said, "Me." They sit him down. They call him like Sir Jeffrey Everest from, Gloucestershire, and they mic up and they say, "Thank you very much. Our next guest is Jeffrey Heathcliff. Sir Jeffrey, welcome." Yes. And he said, "What do you?" And they said, "What do you believe is going to be the cost of the internet regarding this and the person NFTs with the cost per million?" And he said, "Well, I think it's a very good." He actually sounded decent. That's Kamala Harris all the time. She has absolutely nothing to explain this. If you're talking, you can have somebody come into the White House, work with you a couple days a week. You're going to say, "Listen, I've got a Chamber of Commerce coming up. Yeah. Tell me something about community banks. Tell me something. Give me 4 ideas, 3 ideas. This, and this." Okay, fine. I don't think she ever thought about community banks until she sat there for the first time. I hope this is true, because if she was instructed and this is the best thing she can come up with, it's horrible. But she came in and said the bank is part of the community because the community is all of us. We are the community. George Keane says, from the Leiden School of Thinking, if replacement Joe Biden steps down, Kamala Harris goes with him, saying she can't do it without Joe, gets her Obama-style money. It's funny you say that. It would be really tough for her. And that, I do like that, by the way. It would be very tough for her to say, "I don't want this," or "I can't do this." A little bit about the 25th Amendment, by the way. This is something which we have to look at. Section 1 of the 25th Amendment says that in case of the removal of the president from office or his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. What happened before was a problem. What happened before was weird. The presidential succession is a strange deal. It has this, hang on, it's this, where is it? It says, in the case, this is Article 2, section, hang on, Article 2, section, hang on. Article 2, section 1, clause, hang on a minute, clause 6, here we go, vacancy and disability. Listen to this one. This is before the 25th Amendment. In case of the removal of the president from office or his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office, sounds good so far, right? The same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and vice president, declaring that the officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or the president shall be elected. So you know what it is? This is a temporary president. This is an acting president. And John Tyler was the first one to say, I'm not an acting president. I'm the president. And they say, no. It says that, it says that you shall devolve the president, and you're going to accept. And he says, no. John Tyler, after William Henry Harrison, remember him after he died after a month? He said, no. I'm in charge. No. Your job is not. You're not the president. You're like the replacement. You're the stand-in. And he said, oh, no. So 25th Amendment took care of that. Remember when Grover Cleveland was sick and he was ill for a while. He was gone. he had surgery. Nobody knew what to do. In the case of course, Woodrow Wilson with his wife Edith, nobody knew what to do. There was this weird, glaring confusion. So the 25th Amendment came along, making it very clear. Section 2, whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president. Okay, that's not our case. Number 3, whenever the president transmits to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House his written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such power shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. See, that's where he can kind of screw him, where he basically says, doesn't even go to her. He goes to the president pro tem, Murray, and then he goes to the speaker and says, listen, I'm unable to do this. For how long? I'll let you know. Kamala, over here. You take over for what? You're acting president. You're not the president. I'm not resigning. I'm just not sure. You see what I'm saying? That's a great way around this. But they're going to tell Biden, what are you doing? We need finality. Oh, no. You want me out? That's as close as I'm going to get. I'll just say I'm not able to do this, and that's that. So it's a wonderful, it's a great kind of a deal. So to this. Hang on a second. Here we go. B. Wakul says, Aussie here. Can we please consider arranging a trade? You are woke officials for ours. I believe ours are worser. You know what? You might very well be true. George King said 25th Amendment authored by Birch Bayh and Bob Dole. I don't know if they authored. No, I remember reading the actual individual who wrote that I don't believe it was they involved in this. George says, with Tyler, didn't the Supreme Court have to opine? No, because in the case of Tyler, I don't think it went to court per se. 25th Amendment takes care of that. But there was a confusion. The reason what precipitated the 25th Amendment was because it was unclear. Is he an acting president? It's very clear. It's not just you're the president. It just says you're going to devolve and continue the duties and blah, blah, blah. Matla says, does the 25th Amendment give a deadline on when a vice president needs to be assigned? If Kamala is made POTUS today, can she drag out her decision until past the election? I think so. There's no mention of it. I don't think there's any mention. I think there's got to be some kind of due diligence or some claim, some, version of this. Here's the thing I want to read. This is the thing which is interesting. Let me read this one thing about Mr. Tyler. And by the way, in the White House, there's a great picture of John Tyler. It was my favorite. He's got this newspaper he's holding in his hands, and he's crumpling it up. He was really something. You don't really, but that's the picture in the green room with the blue, whatever all it's called. Anyway, he's holding this newspaper, and he's crumpling it up. When William Henry Harrison died in office, remember a month, it had been suggested that the vice president would become acting president. This is the problem upon the death. But Tyler said, no. I'm going to succeed as the president instead of some, guy merely assuming the powers and duties. He also declined, he said, no way to acknowledge documents referring to him as acting president. He didn't even want to take the vice presidential oath. Well, he said, because I took the vice presidential oath, I don't even need to take the presidential oath. So they said, no, John, please stop it. Anyway, that's where the ball got rolled. And it's also very interesting to see how many times in the Constitution there are these glaring, not omissions, but these inconsistencies. For example, you got to be 35 years old to be president, but to be a congressman, you got to be 30. And is it natural born citizen? It's for the president only, but not for the... Does it really say that a vice president, two vice presidents, or that a vice president and a president can't be from the same state? Doesn't really say that. At the time of the electors, they did it. I mean, it's a wonderful document, but exceedingly, dare I say, a tad abstruse. 25th Amendment wasn't until 1967. Tyler was 1841. No, I know that. This was one of the precipitating factors of this. John Tyler was the one that got people going. They didn't act. Granted, they waited. Grover Cleveland had to leave because he had cancer surgery. Woodrow Wilson. There were others as well. It kept coming up, and the idea of succession wasn't clear. So it took until 1967. Even after Kennedy, you would think that the succession was clear. It hadn't come up as a problem. But don't you like the idea of Biden being a real deek and saying, you know what, I'm going to issue I'm going to say, I'm not going to quit. I just don't think I can go through with this. So remember, my friends, dear friends, number one. Oh, George Keene again says, George says, from the interwebs, Senator Birchby and Emmanuel Seller, representative, introduced joint resolutions proposing a constitutional amendment in the presidential succession and inability in the House of the Senate. Excellent. And our good friend L.J. Jackson says, isn't it fair to ask George if he'll be under Joe's desk as he was for Slick Willie? Wow. Ask George? Interesting. You know, it's very funny. By the way, LJ, when you think about everybody makes Kamala out to be this harlot, this concupiscent vixen, as being, a lot of other things. The guy who is the complete degenerate is Gavin Newsom. That guy, wait until you hear that story. So, and that may be. So let's go very quickly because it's coming up at 8. Don't forget, we're going to, in case you just tuned in, we're going to watch the 8 o'clock big story and then come back. Okay? So don't just stay there. And then we're going to review it. I'll be giving you my assessment. So we've got situation number 1. Joe stays on. Full steam ahead. He's the guy. Win or lose, it's Joe Biden. Number 2 is Kamala Harris. He either steps down in this written declaration under the 25th Amendment, or through he just quits or whatever. That's the second one. Third condition or third situation is neither of the above, and somebody else comes in at the convention. Not a brokered convention, but an exciting convention where we haven't seen one of these. Nobody's pro forma. It's a waste of time. Everybody knows what's going on. George Keene says, I think LJ means the diminutive Greek from, George Clinton. Yes. I'm so sorry. How is it fair to ask George if he'll be under Joe's desk as he was for Slick Willie? LJ Jackson, you are a wit. You must forgive me. I'm pulling a bit of a Biden myself tonight because I have been at this all day and I am just, but thank you for that. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump remains as is. He's doing exceedingly well by just being quiet. Mr. Trump realizes, I don't have to weigh in. Let these people slug it out. Why am I going to enter the fray? They're dying for me to say something. In fact, Trump even said, Joe, can we just sit down anytime, you and me? No debate. Let's just talk. Oh, brilliant. So, ladies and germs, let us sit tight. I'm going to run to the Motorola. We're going to crank it up. It's gas operated. Hope to God that the antenna outside can pick this thing up. Does anybody have an antenna anymore? They didn't even do that. We will watch this. Whenever this is over and I'm able to stop from my vomiting, my excessive emesis from having watched this ridiculousness, we will come back and regroup here right after. Is that a deal? Can we do that, dear friends? Can we do this? Indeed. Biden starts at, oh, this is 8:30. Honey, 8:30. What about 8? They're telling me now it's 8:30. Did you hear that? I heard 8 o'clock. Let me see this. Biden speech time. Okay. What time is Biden's interview? The time is set. Will air in its entirety prime time at 8 p.m. July 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Eastern time. So we'll see that one. Did that answer your question? Gracie loves a George. Does that make any sense to you? I think so, indeed. So it starts at 8. Either way, we're coming back after that. So stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and the like, because that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to take, like I said, getting myself ready, pre-emetic, when I barf and heave, like Vesuvius, when I see this demented fool take the stand and waste our time, dear friends. All right, so listen, I love you madly. We will reconvene. It says, Gracie, 8 o'clock, but, sometimes they lie to me. In any event, we'll be back. Make sure, again, you hit that. All right, dear friends? We'll see you then. I won't give you a monkey's dead. The show's over. But no, because we're coming back, all right? You got it? See you right after the event, and get ready. And let's reconvene and rip them apart. Ta-ta.